I'm setting up this.
Okay.
That's really quite helpful.
Yeah.
Just looking at. Yeah, I mean, if they see filming, they'll probably think, "Oh, I'm disturbing something." It might put me off. You see. I don't know how that looks.
Yeah, we'll slide into
I'm recording now just to test it.
Oh, why don't you come a bit closer? I don't, because otherwise, you know, you're far away. It makes a. Yeah,
can see.
that's we can. I can.
It was so different from what I just had in Saudi Arabia. Totally different.
So you're saying that it's new situations, new teaching situations, or a change that.
Well, it's an ongoing study of myself in terms of why do I apparently lose it in certain situations? Why am I incredibly confident and able and organised on one hand, and then on other occasions just can't do a thing? It's like black and white, totally polar reactions for me. So right now, your experience of me, students, so far has probably been this version of me, but I can be the flip of that. I can be the opposite. It's almost like I've got this kind of perfectionist streak.
I would say you must have some answers to it as well. I mean,
I've thought about it a lot. And through the counselling sessions I've had just recently as well, I've tried to explore why this happens to me. Talking about it now makes me feel a bit anxious because I'm remembering what went on, and you might be feeling a bit of that anxiety too as I describe the feelings of, oh my God, I could be liable to that. And I don't want to. It's something I want. It's a hidden monster. I want to keep the monster in the closet, as it were, and just keep that and keep on top. So maybe a lot of my personality that you see as being kind of very vocal, very sort of organised or whatever, is because I'm running scared of this monster in the closet, this dark demon that is what happens to me in certain situations at certain times. Having said all that, I mean, I spent 5 months in Saudi Arabia with not a problem. It makes no sense.
So you think that there was something special about the Saudi situation that made it easier, or?
I don't know what it was. I think it was because I saw other people suffering more than me.
Suffering in the same way, or?
We were kind of all in it together in terms of the things that we were having to deal with, the difficulties of being in Saudi Arabia. Without going into details about the difficulties of Saudi Arabia, I think you can all have a general idea of what it might be like, and other countries like that. And because I felt it wasn't me alone suffering, it was everyone suffering, talking about it and dealing with it in a kind of group dynamic where we kind of laughed things off and shared thoughts and shared ideas and kind of reassured each other that, you know, these kids just don't want to learn, so what are you going to do? You know, it's not your fault. So there was a lot of reassuring kind of things going on in that, even in a kind of not official but a very random way, like in the taxi on the way to the work or back from work or in the minibus, or even if it wasn't a formal group setting like this, we kind of shared ideas, shared thoughts, shared feelings, and I think what I am looking to do, possibly bringing it back to this situation now, I know I've mixed the personal with the professional here, but it's that one affects the other, and I can't do the professional if the personal is awry. And what I'd like to be able to do, which the counselling certainly helped this summer, and what I'd like to do now is to be able to have reflective times where I don't panic, which is what I've done in the past, panic, and work through it by talking with other people and realising that A, I'm not alone, and B, I shouldn't be comparing myself with myself.
Yeah. You had the, I thought it was quite interesting what you were saying about having very high expectations of yourself, and then where in Saudi it was easier, where other people had difficulties, and those were discussed openly. So the difficulty was possibly more with the students, that there was something tangible there that was outside of your control, if you like, to some extent, that made it easier. I don't know if that...
Yeah, there was
makes any
certainly
sense.
a feeling that what we were being asked to do as
It was
teachers
difficult.
was a difficult thing. And in Saudi, I think the cultural aspects of there and the, it's unfair to say laziness as a general thing, but the general attitude of the students, they're all sort of 18, 19-year-old lads. They all look like adults, but they're like kids really. And their lateness, they're just kind of, the feelings that they're, you know, if they make a mistake, somebody will clear it up for them. They're not taking responsibility for their own learning and their own futures. I mean, I had a pretty decent class. So that was why I was lucky. I mean, if I'd been given a level 3 class and I was going through the Touchstone book and looking at basic sort of pre-into sort of level language, and I don't think I'd have coped as well. But I had a fairly good class, so I was able to run with them a bit more and do writing for academic English, paragraphing, structure, discourse markers, this kind of area, and they were a pretty good bunch as a cohort of students. And they, you know, the good ones brought up the weaker ones. So I had a good experience in that way. All the time I was listening to my colleagues who were struggling to know what to do with the students, but blaming the students all the time. Always blaming the students. I didn't hear much of teachers reflecting and going, I'm really struggling with these students, I want to do a better job. It was always, these students are a waste of time, these students, blah, blah, blah. A lot of blame culture there. There was enough people, management or whatever, the whole system, the whole country, to blame. There was enough of the blame culture.
What was your feeling about that?
I was in two minds. I thought, well, they got a point, but all I hear is blame. All I hear is, I can use that as an excuse why, you know, why I didn't do a good job, or why the lesson didn't work. In terms of getting the kids to work, just to study, period, was a challenge. And the reason to point what you're saying, the reason why I coped and I didn't have a panic attack and why, is because I felt I was doing a better than average job. I felt what I was doing was all right. I was having a decent-ish class, and they responded to my work, and I got a good rapport, and I wasn't blaming them. I deliberately wasn't blaming them. I said they were a product of the context and the environment in which they grew up in. It's funny when Richard or who was talking about context the other day, I said, well, of course context is important. You can't just go in with your pre-planned lesson and go, right, this is going to work here. And I know a lot of teachers who did. A lot of teachers who had been teaching for 10 or 20 years suffered there because they had pre-fixed ways of doing things. This works here, I'm going to try it here. And they fell flat on their face.